Yes. A woman next to me didn't seem to think so, but she's wrong.
Was there any artistic struggle between you as filmmaker and Bukowski as writer? I mean, for instance, that you have experience with visual images.
No, actually no. It was, I don't remember any. No, I was trying to make a movie like Bukowski would have made it. So, there could not be any problem between us, because the only thing is that I may have done something that he may not have done, but I didn't know it. He didn't tell me, and I was trying very hard to imagine what would be the cinematic style that he would use. So what would be the equivalent in cinema of the style? For example, he's from the school where the style is lean and hard, like Hemingway. He's a son of Hemingway also, and so what would be that style in the movies? Very lean, very simple, very expressive, and sometimes very, very moving, if you can make it, but without using the score, for example. All the music is real, is the music that people are hearing. It's always justified by a radio, so there is no romantic score that comes to underline the emotion at one point, so all those things together, they form something.
Do you think that through time that he's become so popular that he's somewhat misunderstood? And you were saying he had such great humanity, and I remember watching the documentary Born Into This about Bukowski, and he tells this great story about his first time he ever had sex with a prostitute. And the interviewers are kind of giggling as he's telling this story, because he's telling it in a very funny, kind of harsh way. And it's all about he has sex with a prostitute, and he thinks that she robbed him. He's talking about how corpulent she is, all these things. And they keep laughing, and he's telling it, it's very amusing. And then he stops when he realizes that she didn't rob him, and he says, "Poor girl." And his whole face changes, his demeanor changes, and everyone is quiet because they realize he feels bad for her. He sees her humanity. He sees the humor, he sees the humanity, everything. And I think that when people really do read him and not just see him as this great drunken writer that would get on stage and threaten people and brawl and kind of glamorize him in this way that's sort of the wrong way to glamorize him. They don't see that humanity and love that is there in him.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, yeah.
And I see it in this movie, and I'm glad that this exists because it's really here. There's, especially on the big screen. Wasn't it great to see it on the big screen? First, it was a beautiful print.
And for me, the greatest pleasure to see it on a big screen like this was the extraordinary photography of Robbie Mueller, who's really that really gave a fantastic thing to the movie, a fantastic atmosphere, and really it was a real joy for me to see it on a big screen like that with photography.
I wanted to ask you about a question about nonfiction really quickly. You've been a nonfiction filmmaker. You've worked in that genre a lot throughout your career, including recently. And a number of the films you've made, dramatic films, have been based on real life. And they've had these kind of, not just this one, but Reversal of Fortune, larger-than-life characters that are drawn from reality. What did you learn from your experience making documentaries that informed your dramatic films? What lessons did you learn from that?
Well, actually, whenever I do a fiction film, I try to have a documentary approach. I try to know the maximum I can about what I'm filming. And when I do a documentary, I try to find all the fictional elements that are in that story, and I work on the fiction. So for me, it's linked. It's linked. Whenever I'm doing a documentary, I try to make it as much as possible as a fiction, to build it up as a fiction. And when I do a fiction movie, I have a documentary approach to it.
Might it be, to go back to something that Howie said earlier, might it be that this journalistic impulse, this reporter's impulse that you have, maybe accounts for the non-judgmental quality that your movies
Yes,
share?
but for me, the word journalist, when you associate it with documentary, I freak out, because a journalist has a totally different agenda. As a documentary filmmaker or as a filmmaker, I want to claim to be totally irresponsible. I don't, and a journalist has to be responsible. So that's why I want always not to be a journalist, but a filmmaker.
We should open the audience for questions. Any questions from the audience? Can't see. Right there, man right there in the middle, if you'd wait for the microphone. Yes, right there. Yes, you.
Oh, there's somebody up there.
Thank you for being here. It feels kind of weird to openly admit in public that I read Bukowski, because at my high school, if I said that, the teachers would try to put me in counseling or something. But just knowing, I mean, I don't know Bukowski personally, obviously, but reading his work and, you know, knowing a little bit about him by watching Born Into This and seeing a little bit more of this film and kind of realizing the person he is, and I kind of understood that he did hate film. He didn't like film at all.
Yes, yes,
And,
because he grew up in Los Angeles. That's
exactly. And I mean, you see this in his different works, but I kind of had two parts to this question. Bukowski once said, if the writing is not pouring out of you, if it's not everything you want, don't even try. As a director, did this film pour out of you like Bukowski would have wanted? And the second question is, how was it hard at all to have him be a part of this film, especially with his hatred towards Hollywood and the film industry?
Yeah, but you see, he saw right away that I had so much trouble to put this movie together that it was obviously not a mainstream movie, and we were having so much trouble that he understood that it was different. He was just not very interested in the art of cinema, and I didn't have time to explain him that there were some great movies and try to show him and all that. He was really interested in literature, and he was making me discover things in literature, and we had plenty enough with literature. And so it was, no, it was not hard at all. He wrote a fantastic, very funny book about the making of this movie. It's called Hollywood. It's very funny.
Balcony?